Montgomery has been presented with a rare combination of challenges seldom seen by generations past, from pandemic to economic to righteous social unrest. But like generations past, for we are hit the worst, we will respond with our best. Today, our best means looking at our businesses and our communities and finding innovative ways to help both grow and develop. Despite the initial grim projections and setbacks suffered by public and private sectors alike, we have successfully weathered the storm and are ready to keep moving Montgomery forward. In August, we celebrated the launch of the Montgomery Tech Lab, a huge milestone in our efforts to capitalize on Montgomery's convergence of unique IT assets that lend themselves to building out an economic base that rivals job markets like Chattanooga, Richmond, and other high-tech hubs. This is the next step in creating an innovation district that will advance our region's technology culture and embolden a robust innovation and entrepreneurial ecosystem in Central Alabama. The total economic impact of a sustaining recurring program is expected to be $36 million in additional earnings within 10 years of implementation of the program. That's pretty good. Montgomery will see a total of 235 cumulative jobs as projected by Dr. Kayvon Daravi. We must refocus our economic development efforts on empowering emerging entrepreneurs, giving those with actionable ideas who live and work among us the tools they need to succeed. To that end, my administration will continue to encourage local and regional financial institutions to invest in and work with local minority-owned small businesses and startups. Access to capital should not be based on one's race, zip code, gender, age, or last name. It should be available to those with great ideas who want to launch their business. That is the future that will move Montgomery forward, as will our resilience, determination, and grit. In March, the Alabama Department of Public Health confirmed one of the state's first cases of COVID-19. Only months later, Montgomery and Central Alabama saw rates of contraction rise rapidly to unsustainable levels. Our emergency rooms and medical facilities were on the precipice of disaster, facing a steep cliff as hospital ICU availability in Montgomery dwindled as low as 1%. My team continued working with health experts and doctors to stabilize the situation, even when their calls to state and federal officials were viewed with a little skepticism. Leadership demands action, and despite others' hesitation, Montgomery was ready to lead in Alabama's response and recovery efforts. Our city was among the first in the state to issue an executive order requiring masks. We instituted complementary precautions that ensured businesses could and would continue safe operations. These proactive steps led to Montgomery's 7-day COVID-19 case average dropping from a high of 105 new cases per day on June the 14th to half of that just 1 month later. The daily case growth rate dropped by more than 64% in that same time frame. More importantly, this decisive action would ultimately be backed by our city council and adopted at the state level based on our success, protecting and preserving both the lives and livelihoods of all who call Montgomery and Alabama home. Economic forecasts projected depressing levels of hardship for Alabama, like many other states, due to the economic contractions associated with the pandemic. In a preemptive step to address the immediate and lingering social and financial effects of COVID-19, my administration created 2 task forces designed to identify and facilitate measures to guide us from response to and through recovery. Montgomery's Economic Impact Task Force, in partnership with the Montgomery Area Chamber of Commerce, rolled out the Recover Together Small Business Relief Fund. This one-stop hub for small business support has granted $500,000 in direct relief to 135 businesses since its creation in May. This has played a vital role in helping them keep workers employed during these challenging times. Recover Together also provided technical assistance to small businesses who needed help navigating the complexities of applying for the SBA Payroll Protection Plan and economic injury disaster loans. This support was essential to small businesses who encountered obstacles applying. We still have an obligation to do what we can to keep our small businesses open and supported. Although Recover Together was launched in response to the crisis, it's a model we can expand on to continue facilitating equitable access to capital. In fact, we have spent much of this past year working closely with financial advisors and stakeholders to explore additional resources, such as community development financial institutions and the creation of community development corporations that can provide much-needed financing to start up small businesses and projects. We will lead by example and revamp the city's procurement requirements to offer mentorship to subcontractors, especially disadvantaged business enterprises, to prepare them to be bid ready. I encourage the private sector to take similar steps to help empower and guide others in these best practices. This makes good business sense for everyone. And as the saying goes, a rising tide raises all ships, and the readiness and success of one company can benefit us all. Throughout the nation, the COVID-19 pandemic brought sweeping effects to public and private sector budgets alike. But even amid this financial instability, our preemptive fiscal strategy meant Montgomery was ready to weather the storm. We stabilized the city's budget without having to touch our reserves, borrow money, or initiate any layoffs. We did that by freezing spending and making only the necessary cuts to shore up a potential shortfall. The current projection for the city's revenue shortfall could be as low as $6 million, vastly better than originally expected and stronger than that of comparative cities. To achieve this outcome, we fine-tuned each department's function to optimize efficiency and effectiveness, and we're still working on that. The result? A responsible budget that means better service at optimal costs. Of course, a healthy budget means also finding ways to better invest in our community and provide the resources to allow Montgomery to not only survive, but thrive. Access to high-quality education should not be limited to one zip code, not to one's means or their last name. Yet that's what's happening right here in Montgomery. But without adequate levels of funding, that guarantee is hard to deliver by the day. It's also hard to guarantee our students' health and safety in a changing environment. A report by AL.com last week listed Montgomery among the most challenged districts in the state. We earned a C-. A C-. That's just one step above failing for our schools' health and safety because we have old, outdated, and damaged buildings, facilities that threaten the health and safety of our students on a daily basis, and a lack of funding to provide support and wraparound services to assist them in their daily challenges. You know, like I do, that the stakes have never been higher in our city. Montgomery Public Schools received the lowest amount of local funds legally allowed by the state, a bare bones 10 mils. And the deepening gap between our funding as it compares to neighboring systems, whether that be Pike Road, Auburn, or even communities such as Madison in North Alabama, not only affect our future economic potential, but it has immediate implications for Maxwell Air Force Base. With a more than $2.6 billion economic impact, the possibility of losing Maxwell would decimate everything we're working to build in our city, and we've been working to build for decades now. Our community benefits when we invest in public education, and so do our surrounding communities as well. We cannot attract healthcare professionals, businesses, and strengthen our local economy with our current state of education in Montgomery. And let it be said, if Montgomery doesn't grow, none of the surrounding areas will grow. We cannot and will not attain the quality of life we want in Montgomery. Your businesses and your bottom lines cannot sustain the further degradation to our school system. That's why I'm asking you to flip the ballot over and vote for the Montgomery Public Schools on November 3rd. A successful Montgomery is a successful river region. A successful river region is a successful Central Alabama. And a successful Central Alabama makes for a stronger Alabama as a whole.